tonight I have an unexpected guest, Mr. Eclectic Radical, who is AKA Chris Richards. So I just kind of hit him up last minute and asked if he wanted to join. I kind of like doing this week's news with someone just to see if, I mean, typically our takes are pretty damn close with the people I have, but still it makes for good conversation. So thanks for joining us, Chris.
Oh, it's my pleasure. The smoke still hasn't blocked internet access here.
Where are you?
I am in the Portland, Oregon area, and since Oregon is on fire, and I'm fortunate enough to live in one of the parts of it that's not actually actively burning. But since there's fires all around where I live, all the smoke is just sort of nestling right here.
Wow, that is terrifying. What's it like when you go outside?
So it looks, and this is what's scary, because it would be a relatively normal looking day later in the year if it were cooler. But when it looks like a cold, foggy, gray day, but it's 73, and the only reason that it's only 73 is because the smoke is blocking out the sun. It was supposed to
Wow.
be 90 degrees last week, and it never hit 90 because of all the smoke blocking out the sun. It was cold instead.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
scary.
it is.
Uh, wow, I'm in Pennsylvania and it's cold and rainy and gross, but um yeah, that's certainly nothing bad. I will, in other news that is probably a year away given um the lurpies that's going on. Pat and I have planned to do a book tour since we first even, came up with the concept of the book. Um, as I said, I'm in Pennsylvania, and our thought was I'm going to go to California for the first time, and we'll go to like LA, San Francisco, all these places, and all these bookstores and stuff. And we are definitely going to go to Portland as well. And there's so many of you guys that we want to meet. So that's good news that you're there in that regard, because you'll be able to meet up with us, so
Well,
obviously that's worth it.
you guys are folks that I want to meet. And you personally have been on my want to meet list for a long time now. I mean, you're like one of the first people who to follow back and make friends. So
And then I unfollowed you because you pissed me the fuck off, and then you made a public tweet
well, of
apologizing,
course.
and then I was like, all right, this fucker really wants me to follow him back. And that was months ago. And I know it was something about you pushing for Warren, but I don't remember
No, it
what.
wasn't about pushing for Warren. Not a fan. I don't remember what it was about now.
It was something to do with Warren. So I think it
Mm.
was something like you guys gotta give more slack to Warren, like cut her more slack or something about like laying off.
That doesn't
It
sound
was
like me, but maybe. Who
That's why
knows?
I was surprised. But in any case, we are going to be discussing this week's news. Um,
If
what a
we ever get to it.
clusterfuck. What's that?
If we ever get to it.
Yeah, right. Oh, this one time at band camp. No, I have a list of shit because there's just so much crap. First, though, I do want to say in regards to the book, Pat and I have gotten out all couple hundred pre-orders. They are all shipped. They must have been delivered. If not, you should have gotten an email confirmation that it's on its way. We appreciate it so much. Because of your pre-orders, we were able to print non-Amazon and raise the money to actually print the books ahead of time. So thank you so much. But they should all be in your hands this week. And I'm going to read a quote from Miss Nina. We went on her podcast and it's going to be airing soon. And she says, "Can I just say to you, um, I laughed till I damn cried." And she's read the whole thing.
That's a
So,
great quote.
I mean, she is the yes queen. Like,
Whoa.
she is the main character in the book. She's
Of
Nina
course.
Burner. So for her to, say that is just like such an honor. And we're like, even if we don't sell any more books, yeah, that's kind of incredible. But if you do want to check out our book, it's savageandpat.com. It's a resistance parody. And it's so easy to make fun of shitlib. So we already have a second one in the works. No surprise. But anyway, so one of the biggest things that's been trending, obviously, and deservedly so, is ICE. Um, people have been called, radical and, ridiculous for saying, abolish ICE and things like that. But this week we got confirmed something many of us have assumed kind of has been going on, which is basically, genocidal.
Genocide. Yeah. We have concentration camps.
We do. We do. And,
And forced sterilization is Mengele stuff, which means Mike Tracy and whatever his name is from the National Review, Rich Lowry and Mike Tracy and everybody else who ever said, "Oh no, we don't have concentration camps," can officially suck mine.
and mine too. And I don't have one, but that's how pissed it makes me. It's so disgusting because the way that they defend it and say we don't have concentration camps is basically making excuses for what we do have to
Yes.
delegitimize it. It's not even like it's more like it's not that bad,
Well, if you compare the concentration camps in 1936 versus 1944, someone might have said this isn't that bad in 1936.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we saw all day yesterday, it was not just one tweet. I was hoping it was one off, but I know the shit lives way too well. We started seeing there's even patriarchy in ICE facilities because nobody had their balls chopped off,
so
and this is only women.
I have inside news about that. It didn't get started by shit libs. The first account I saw tweeting that was People for Bernie, and they deleted it when they got called out. Kat posted a cranky one though under her own account saying that she felt kind of picked on for having to delete it.
I know, I saw. But you know what? Look who she writes for. That's the thing. Doesn't she write for New York Times?
I don't know.
I think she it's either that or WAPO. It's one of the shit ones.
So because I don't know. I know that she's not one of those people though, even though she writes for someone like that.
You think that, and I've always kind of given her the benefit of the doubt, but that take is fucking gross. And like, I made a post yesterday about like libs, oh my god, doing that to women's disgusting, but also libs, they should have also cut off guys' nut sacks. Like,
that's not what that means. And I get what so here's the thing. When it was the People for Bernie account and it looked like it was going to be that one off, I liked it and retweeted it and thought it was funny. Because it was from the People for Bernie account and not from a different account, I would have reacted differently if it was a shit lib.
So you think they were being facetious?
Well, no. So here's the thing. The way that it was tweeted the first time is accurate in that a vasectomy really is much less serious for a man than a hysterectomy is for a woman.
Sure.
A vasectomy is easily reversible, which a hysterectomy isn't. And it can even reverse itself without people trying to, though a good one isn't supposed to, obviously. So a vasectomy isn't the same as a hysterectomy. And if it's just that one thing, yeah, ha ha ha, misogyny, it's true. That's kind of, if you think about it, that's kind of true. But then when everybody starts doing it, it's like, oh, fuck, people are taking this shit seriously. And even Bresler's, oh, I shouldn't have had to delete it, was kind of, I was trying to make a point about misogyny. And it's like, but that's not a good one.
No, and it's actually, it's taken away the focus from the importance of what's happening.
Yes.
Like this, and it's cool to see certain people tweeting abolish ICE finally,
Mm-hmm.
reps. However, why only are they doing it now? And why only are they doing it now when there's a Republican in the White House and a Republican controlled Senate?
Well, and that's the thing, is that even back when this Congress first took office, they didn't want to abolish ICE. They voted to fund it. The only person the only person who was for abolishing ICE was AOC. She was the only person who voted not to give them money.
Yep. And Rashida and Ilhan are saying abolish ICE, and I do believe them.
Well, I believe that they wanted to stand with her then, but for some reason didn't, and I don't understand that. But I think there's something going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. That said, I never really had a doubt that Rashida and Ilhan wanted to abolish ICE. Not really. But I've just got cut to the chase and skipped by everything else I was going to say. I would like to see the progressives in Congress stand up for stuff more and be willing to be like the only 5 or 6 or 7 votes against.
Who are progressive reps now, though?
So, and that's really the tough part. How do you decide?
I've met Rashida, and I have been so proud of so much she has done. And she was one of the most beautiful, wonderful, kind, incredible people I've ever met, not just in office. And I think she's a fucking badass. I don't necessarily agree with her all the time, but she is an activist.
Yes, she was dragged out of city council meetings before she ever ran for office.
It just happened to her 2 weeks ago too. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's been arrested numerous times and she doesn't give a flying fuck. She's a badass.
Yeah.
Who else do we have? I don't know.
So, while I know a lot of people don't like her and she's not at the top of my list, I will give Ayanna Pressley credit for wanting to lower the voting age to 16, which is much more radical than anything any of the other 3 have actually tried to add to any bills yet. Since the Green New Deal was just a framework saying we need a Green New Deal, and they didn't actually write the Green New Deal when they did the resolution. But still. So the most radical thing anybody has tried to put in a bill yet is Ayanna Pressley's trying to get voting at 16 into H.R. 1. I'm a big fan of voting at 16. I believe anybody who thinks that kids aren't ready to vote at 16 hasn't read Teen Vogue, because it's a whole lot better than Newsweek right now.
Hell yes, they are blowing my fucking mind. Just look at the kids on TikTok. Like their posts about socialism and capitalism. Are you kidding me? They know this shit better than 50-year-olds. I mean, it's really incredible. And yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Our youth are some of the most educated and aware and awake people there are, which gives me hope. Unfortunately, a lot of us are going to be dead by the time,
True.
they become able to even get in office, things
True.
like that. But you know,
And I believe that Roe is really with us. I'm not always a huge fan of Roe, but he votes the right way. He votes the right way consistently.
sometimes.
Well, sometimes, but so let's put it this way. On the things where everybody has voted bad, Roe has voted bad too. But on the things where even three or four, where as few as three or four people have voted the right way, Roe has been one of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've had the pleasure of
And he was
interviewing Roe.
seriously there. I have talked shit about his wife's Raytheon stock too. I will not deny it. He was totally there for Bernie on all the Yemen stuff and all the Iran stuff. He
He was.
has seriously been there for Bernie on all the peace stuff every time.
I will say about Roe, I have had him on my show 4 times. And we've known each other for years. And I found out that Bernie was going to drop before a lot of people. Before
Mhm.
it was announced, it was told to me under wraps, and I knew for 4 days, 5 days before it was announced. And I messaged Roe. I personally emailed him. I am begging you, don't let him do this. And essentially Rose sent me an email back saying, Joy, I agree. I am fighting.
Oh
I
yeah.
I don't want this. I
I
am
I
trying.
know I know who was behind the dropping out.
Mhm.
I know the three names at the time that were released, and I know Chuck Rocha is the fourth because he started a super PAC too, and he probably was the
Sure
one
did.
who leaked it.
Oh yeah. I mean, people like, when you go to other states like I did to campaign, like, who, like, you find out real quick who's in it to be a politician and to
Mm-hmm.
be someone who just works for campaigns regardless of who they are, and someone who's in it for a movement.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, from day one, people on the campaign were like, don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Weaver, I interviewed 2 years ago. We've all known about him. And Winnie Wong, we've known about her for years, and her
Well, but
post
what's funny
today.
about that is, while I don't think she's perfect, Winnie Wong is doing a lot better than some of the people I thought might have been better than her since the campaign ended. As far
She's
as
better in some
Mhm.
respects since the campaign ended, but fuck her for trying to shame us for calling out Warren when Warren was like
Yeah, that wasn't
our
cool.
campaign and shit.
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
Winnie used to work on Draft Warren. That's
Mhm.
where she came from. Winnie has
Sure,
always been Warren. And,
sure.
you know, even in the 2016 campaign, she was loathed. People on our campaign did not like her
Hmm.
behind the scenes. And it's because she's a very public person and private person.
Ah.
And there's other stuff I won't get into about, like, things she did behind the scenes and stuff. But today she made posts that were just so fucking just ignorant about, like,
Mm.
we need to vote for Joe because he won't do this. And it's like, you're giving him credit for doing something he shouldn't
But
do anyway.
so I got unfollowed today by somebody who freelances for at Teen Vogue, among other places, because I tweeted something saying that, I said that voting against fascism is really starting to sound like recycling to stop climate crisis. And she got really mad at me and came at me, and I quote tweeted something she said, because it's like, look, this is how I really feel about it. And she's like, oh, no, the fact that you called me out about this. And so, no, she's seriously pissed at the idea that Biden is a fascist too. She's seriously scared that Trump is going to kill her and thinks that Biden won't.
Here's the thing that so many people refuse to acknowledge. What they just did to the Green Party is fascism.
Mm-hmm.
The Dems did that.
Yes.
Biden is representing the Dems.
Mm-hmm.
The Dems are fascists. They are against democracy.
Well, but that's the whole thing.
Green. I've never been a Green.
Yeah.
I don't support that shit. It's about democracy.
Exactly. I'm not a Green.
It's absolutely disgusting.
I've gotten blocked by Greens because I said, yes, I'm voting for the Green ticket, but they're as corrupt as the Democrats.
Some major shit's been going down. And you know what? I interviewed Angela and I fucking love her. And
I love Angela.
I wish it was her.
I wish it was her.
But
here's the thing. Angela's not a Green, you know. Angela is a member of the Socialist Party. She came over with Howie. Now, she's wonderful. I would totally love to see her run for president. But she's one of the reasons the Greens don't like Howie right now, which makes no sense to me. She's wonderful. Who would not want her running for president?
She's a badass, and she's coming back on my show. I love her. I'm not a fan of Howie. And, you know, a lot of people say that. They wouldn't vote for Howie unless she was on the ticket. Howie's literally run like 25 times.
Well, I know, for all sorts of things. But, you know, to be fair, Nina Turner has never won an election either.
I know.
That said, if I had to choose a candidate for president who had never won an election before, Nina gives a much better speech.
Nina. Please. I was like, every time I met her when I was going around Iowa and stuff, and when I met her in DC, PA, everywhere, I would be like, Nina, burn and turn 2020. And at first she would be like, oh, okay. And then it went to, and then it went to, all right. And I was like, and then when we were on the podcast last month, she said to us, you know, people talk about me in 2024 a lot. I was like, yes. Yes,
we do.
What's that?
Yes, we do.
Oh my God.
We talk about her all the time.
Here's the thing. Like, no, she didn't win.
She was appointed to state senate by the governor.
She was. So she didn't technically win.
And then when she defended the seat, she lost to the Republican because that was that awful year where they just took over Ohio. And
and a black woman, regardless of who they were, was not going to win that seat that year.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't, unfortunately. But I mean, a lot of people are saying, please run, but don't run Dem. I get that. However, as much as I hate the Dems and I Dem exited, I want to see her on that debate stage. I want to see her rip the fuck into Joe Biden and people like that. And I want to see her like force them to answer for shit. No one else has the balls to call them out. Nobody has the balls. Nina does. Calling Biden, a half a bowl of shit and stuff. Nobody has those balls. And in the Dems, you know what I mean?
True.
And damn, like, oh.
Though I will say it's not quite current news anymore, but he did win recently. How about the pair Ed Markey has grown?
How about what?
How about the pair Ed Markey has grown?
The pairs what?
The pair that Ed Markey has grown.
Oh, see, okay. Here's my problem with him.
There are lots of problems with him. I'm not going to say there aren't problems with Ed Markey. The thing
Yeah, I
is,
mean, he did get some balls when it came to Kennedy. I mean, he went hard on him.
mhm.
No, no pun
But
intended.
even more than that, he had that great spot, or you should start asking what your country can do for you. Not even Bernie said that.
Yeah. He definitely had some zingers. You know, I still can't get past the fact that he voted for the Iraq war, and I still can't get past the fact that he endorsed Warren, and I
So
still can't get past the fact that he's in that picture of them standing for no socialism and he's standing and clapping. Those are
no,
things I
I but I've been seriously thinking about a lot of stuff lately. And I'm not quite to the point where I would vote for Biden because Biden is totally a fascist. I have a thread proving why Biden is a fascist out there somewhere, ticking down the list. But there are Dems with bad baggage who I still have regard for, though some of them I have recently lost regard for. But as far as Markey goes, despite all the baggage, he essentially now owes his Senate seat to the left. And not just to the left, but to the socialists that he stood up and applauded the no socialism for. So
yep.
he understands. Number one, he understands that some things really are changing, and that in a blue state like his, they're changing faster than they are in the red states. Number two, I'm old, and unlike a lot of people my age, I watched the news as a kid, and I have memories of a lot of stuff. And baggage or not, you know that the single person in Congress with the most anti-nuke cred is Ed Markey.
Wow. But yet he voted for the Iraq war.
Yes, he voted for the Iraq war. Uh, However, he was not one of the people who knew the truth when he voted for the Iraq war.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's hard to remember sometimes that these people are human.
See,
They
one thing that we don't ever talk about, but is true because he said he was wrong and he's apologized for it. Bernie was one of the other members of Congress who voted all but unanimously for the authorization to use military force.
He did, and you're right, he did
He
apologize.
did apologize for it. He said he was wrong, but he was one of the people who voted that way. Barbara Lee was the only one who didn't. But if you had to look at things now and you had to choose between Bernie and Barbara Lee for one vote on one bill, who would you choose now?
Well, sure as fuck wouldn't choose her. Miss endorsing Kamala, and I don't care that they're both from California. I don't give a fuck.
I
She
know you don't.
Kamala. I don't care.
I don't understand that. I thought I did at first, but I don't anymore.
A lot of people still don't know that. I have to keep reminding people. I'm like, she endorsed Kamala. There were like 30 candidates. And people are always, oh, Barbara Lee needs to be Bernie's VP. I'm like, I don't trust her. I don't know what it is. I don't trust her. And then, well, she takes a lot of APAC money, which really
I
pisses me off.
didn't know that.
But then, like, I guess a couple weeks ago, she's on some committee for cannabis support, and she
Yeah.
voted against a legislation that would legalize it in certain aspects. So
Now, when you consider that she is literally personally one of the people they outlawed cannabis to get, that's kind of weird.
yeah,
She is literally personally one of the people that they made cannabis a Schedule I narcotic to get. Because that was to get the Black Panthers.
Yeah. Brent, you bring up a great point. I was bitching about this on Twitter earlier today. We could have had someone who whooped Mitch McConnell's ass. But I don't know if you saw the poll today, Chris, but Amy McGrath is hardcore trailing.
She is, well, and that's the thing, is that the only real difference between Amy McGrath and Mitch McConnell as far as votes in the Senate would go is that she'd have a D after her name and wouldn't be the majority leader. I don't think she would vote significantly to the left of Joe Manchin and might be to his right.
Absolutely.
She said she would be. She said that the number one, in the debates, she said that the number one reason people should nominate her was that in case Trump won, Kentucky needed a senator that would work with him.
Yep.
And it's like, first, you should not be running for Democratic senator saying, well, what if Trump wins? You're supposed to believe in your candidate, even if we don't.
Yep. Absolutely.
Second, nobody voting in the Democratic primary in Kentucky wants a senator who will work with Trump.
Yeah.
And the only reason she won was because absentee votes had gotten mailed out before Charles Booker's surge.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, you know, and the fact that the people were locked out of their polling locations early, things
Well,
like
but
that.
even all that, Booker was ahead before they started counting absentee ballots.
Yes.
And when they finished counting absentee ballots, Amy had won. Amy won specifically off absentee votes cast before people really knew who Booker was.
Now, I noticed from day one, before Joe even had the nom, I was saying if Joe gets the nom, he's gonna lose. Trump's gonna stay in power. I've been saying that for over a fucking year. And finally, people are starting to open up to the fact that that very well may happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in Pennsylvania and I've lived here for 41 years, all over different places. I'm right by the Capitol now. I am telling you, Biden will lose Pennsylvania. I'm telling you.
Of course he will.
No, people are like, I don't know. I've never seen a Biden sign, ever.
People think that because Joe was born in Scranton, somehow the people of Pennsylvania love him. Mm-hmm. The people of Delaware barely love Joe Biden.
Yep. Yeah, our state, ever since 2016 when it went red, it has been so Trump. I mean, you cannot go down. I live next to Harrisburg. Harrisburg is filled of people of color and poor people, and it's so diverse, and still you see Trump signs everywhere. People don't understand, like they're in absolute denial. Like PA is going to Trump again. I live here.
All these liberals, and I'm going to say liberals, and I'm going to say all these, I hate to say it because I live on the West Coast, but all these elite coastal liberals, to sound like Joe Scarborough, all these elite coastal liberals who don't know what it's like to live in some place that has really genuinely been economically depressed for years and years and years, do not understand how people, Democrats in those formerly blue-collar states, feel about corporate Democrats. I mean, remember that whether it's true or not, these people blame NAFTA for everything that happened to the economy of their states. Whether it's true or not, you can say, well, automation or this and that and the other would have done all this anyway. Blah, blah, blah. China would have done it even if Mexico hadn't. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe so. But still, that doesn't change the fact that they blame NAFTA. Joe Biden is Mr. NAFTA to them. When people talk about working class Joe, don't understand that people talking about working class Joe are talking about a McGovern era image of the nasty racist bully at the bar, and not about the fact that his politics favor working class people. Nobody who ever called Biden working class Joe was being complimentary back in the day.
I think one of the most frustrating things is that he could win guaranteed 1 billion% if he said, I will fight for Medicare for all. Just that one fucking statement. Just that. Boom, Trump's
There
out.
are people who have actually tweeted, if he said it, he would be lying, and I would know he was lying, but I would still vote for him because he cared enough to lie.
Yep. That's the thing that's like even ironically more offensive. Like they don't even care enough to lie.
Yeah, at least Obama pretended to be
Like they
progressive.
don't even care enough to try and hide the fact that like they like in 2016 they were like, oh no, we're gonna do well, we're gonna work with you. Now they're just like, fuck you, I don't give a shit, and people are still giving them their votes. Why would they change?
Exactly. That's the thing is that, and I hate to say it because I'm not an accelerationist. I don't want Trump to win. I talk about voting third party all the time because I live in a safe blue state. If I lived in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, I might feel really differently about the way I would vote.
Well, I mean, people say that a lot, but as someone in Pennsylvania,
I know, because my friend Marie in Florida is like, I live in a swing state and I'm still not voting for Biden. And
I think the thing people have to realize is that I'm well aware that there's a 0% chance my state will lose by one vote.
yeah.
So I really, and then, people say, well, if you voted, and then other people, I'm not responsible for other people. I don't give a fuck.
But you have a platform.
I look, I wish I was as powerful as Susan Sarandon.
Even Susan Sarandon isn't as powerful as Susan Sarandon. Her Green Party vote in New York, a safe blue state that Trump won, somehow cost Hillary the election. I mean, sorry, a safe blue state that Hillary won somehow cost Hillary the election.
Yep. Well, no, but she possessed us. That's what it was. She absolutely possessed us and, planted in our minds that nobody can math. Nobody. It's like
and even Susan Sarandon believes it because she's for Biden. Now, to her credit, she stood up for Ryan when he was Ryan Knight when everybody was jumping on him and was like, "Hey, no,
that was my clip."
And it was cool that she stood up for him when everyone was jumping on him, and I'm glad that she did. But I mean, that just shows you how people, even Bernie believes the spoiler stuff because it's Bernie's belief in the spoiler stuff that
I don't think he does, which makes it worse. I really don't think he does. Maybe he does. I don't know. I think Bernie's in a situation nobody in the entire universe has ever or will be in again. And just like 2016. It's really crazy because he knows, like he absolutely knows in his soul, if Trump wins again, it is his fault.
Mm,
He has to deal with it. It is his fault. Everything is always going to be his fault. That's a lot to weigh on a person.
mm,
So I do cut him some slack. I love him very much. I've met him probably a dozen times now. And, you know, I cut him some slack in that regard that none of us can even fathom the amount of pressure and stress that man is under. He is trying to get Joe to like actually listen to us, and he's getting ripped a new one for saying that.
mm-hmm.
Like, no, Bernie's aware Joe can very well lose if he doesn't listen to us. People are so fucking ignorant that they think just because they don't agree with something, it isn't true. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you tell them people are not going to come out and vote for Joe, there's no excitement. They're like, well, Trump can't win. That doesn't change the reality of what I'm saying being
Trump
100%
couldn't win in
accurate.
2016 either.
What's that?
Trump couldn't win in 2016 either.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember the news the day before the election. Trump has no mathematical path to victory.
Yep.
Everybody talks about how smart Steve Kornacki was, but he was the one on MSNBC saying Trump had no mathematical path to victory.
The
Sorry, Steve.
the lowest percentage of chance I saw was 96% chance that Hillary would win. All others were like 97, 98, 99. And then the results started coming in. And I think all of us, all of us hurt, all of us. And it was a shit feeling because it's like, yes, Hillary lost, but Trump won. You know what I mean? It was like,
No, I mean, it's like I was rooting for Hillary in that election. I won't pretend I was rooting for Hillary in that election because I didn't realize Trump was going to be as what he was. But it's like, okay, who's going to try to make money off the presidency however he can? And we have Hillary Clinton. Now, yeah, Hillary Clinton's going to try to make money off the office however she can either. But because she's president and not this guy, and because she cares about her legacy, some things are going to happen that otherwise wouldn't. And that was how I saw it. And so, and afterwards, when he won, it was like, no, we're not still this racist. That's not possible. But that shows what I know.
I do, I would never vote for Trump, but I do understand why people did the first time. And that's because so much of what Trump said was stuff Hillary had already done. And let's face it, when you're working at a plant or in coal mines or something like that, and you are watching your friends and family lose their jobs left and right, and you are terrified about your kids, and only one
Mm-hmm.
candidate comes to talk to you. I don't care
Yeah,
what kind of shit candidate that is. If they come and they tell you they're going to fight for your job, you better damn well believe you're going to vote for them. So
I
that
mean,
I
no,
get,
because
you know.
that's the whole thing. People who saw The Apprentice and whose image of Trump was from The Apprentice had a very different image of Trump than people who were around in the 90s, paying attention in the 90s when he was making a fool of himself all over the tabloids. And it's just, our memories are so short.
Yeah. I
I
am
mean,
really concerned that my video is going to cut off in a minute, you guys. So we're just going to keep talking, but there is a chance it might cut off because I'm using a free program because I couldn't get into my other one. And I think it said it stops at 45 minutes. So I'm just gonna keep talking in case. So what else? Okay, so Joe yesterday, this was so amazing. He came out and did a little dance to a Spanish song, and he said something about those people. I was just like, wow. Like oh my God.
Well, on the plus side, at least he's trying to pander to the Latinx vote now.
Yes, he specifically said he didn't need to for
I
a
remember
while.
that.
But this whole Kamala with Chucks, and Chucks being the new pussy hat, like literally women are saying they're going out and buying Chucks to vote for Kamala in. I am so offended by that. I mean, I literally have like 10 pairs, and that's my wardrobe. And the fact that they're like capitalizing on Chucks, I'm like, no, 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 no. And yours are all like pristine and white. No, that's not how you wear them, losers. They're supposed to be beat up. So, and now it's the Tims, brand new Tims, brand new. And it's so pathetic. So
They're
ugh.
writing about her shoes because they don't have anything substantive to write about that isn't bad. I
And they
mean,
look brand new because she sure as fuck doesn't march in the streets with We the People.
but
That's the thing.
people wrote about the substantive things she did. And that's why she dropped out of the presidential race. So they sure as heck can't write about the substantive things she did again now that she's the running mate.
Yeah.
So they have to do this.
Yeah. It's really crazy. When I'm not shocked she's the VP. I thought she would be from day one, but then I
I
kind of started, well, maybe she won't be for a few months, and now I'm not
I
shocked
it
again.
got to the point where I really thought he was going to shock everybody by taking someone worse than Kamala in Val Demings.
Yeah, I know. I thought of that too. I was like, people want Condoleezza Rice up in this shit. Like, they just want identity politics. They do not care.
And
Um,
so Val Demings is a scary person. It's
she's the one that was speaking at the Scientology, right?
No, that's Karen Bass.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Karen Bass has good things to say about her. She's not one of us, but there are good things you can say about Karen Bass that you can't say about any of the other people on the short list for VP. For one thing, she was a physician's assistant for 20 years, and so actually knows what it's like to work for a living. Um, but beyond that, Val Demings was the police chief of Orlando.
Right.
While she was the police chief of Orlando, her husband was the sheriff of the county. Orange County, Florida. Yes, Orange County, Florida. Then she became elected to Congress, and he was elected county mayor. So she's the congresswoman, and he's the county mayor. And when they were both cops, they were the boss cops of the whole county together. Her the city, him the county. So their political careers have essentially been this family partnership in a way that's all these weird conflicts of interest. And on top of that, when she was police chief, she covered for corrupt and violent cops.
Yeah. I don't know that there's anything more tone deaf than if being in the time of the past few months and picking VP between cops.
Yes.
The person who wrote the crime bill and a cop.
Yeah.
I can't, like, anyone even with half a brain would say, look, you have a crime bill, and a lot of African Americans are not going to vote for you. Let's try and counterbalance this with someone who's more progressive, who's got maybe a
So
civil rights
so
history.
so remember now though, and I'm going to go out there and talk like a lib for a moment. Remember, Kamala Harris is the most progressive senator.
Mhm.
Unless you believe the one that says Warren is the most progressive senator or the one that says Markey is the most progressive senator. I think it's interesting, though, that there are 3 different versions of that list.
Yeah. It's oh my god. And Kamala, one of the things that bothers me the most about her is not just her egregious record in regards to policing and criminal injustice, is actually the over 80 pedo priests she let off the hook.
Mnuchin off the hook.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the pedo priests, there's a video I saw of the victims, of some of their victims, over 80 pedo priests who begged Kamala to please release the priests' names. Please, we are begging you. She refused. So all these 80 something pedo priests are still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All she had to do, it was perfectly legal for her to release these priests' names. Perfectly legal, and she refused. That is so disgusting. And especially as someone who is a mother and stuff like that, like I it is so gross. So gross.
So let's remember that contrary to the popular image in the media of who Kamala Harris is, she is someone who ran against the most progressive prosecutor the country has ever had on a "we need to lock up more black people" platform.
Mhm. Absolutely. This
And
is
that's hard for me to get past.
yeah, it really is. I We are so fucked either way. Like, in a way, I kind of want to fast forward because I'm curious to what happens in November, but I'm also like, honestly, I know we're gonna get voter shamed regardless, because of the fact that even if they don't get 100% of the vote, we're still gonna be voter shamed, because even if Biden wins, and I do mean if, it won't be by enough. It'll still be we're awful, and everything like that. And one of the good things about Biden winning would be to show all these fucking privileged people that not a damn thing is going to change. So that would be interesting to watch.
Well, so I want Biden to win,
I
but
do too.
not for the reason that everybody thinks. I do think there are some harm mitigation things involved simply because there are constituents that Biden has to answer to that Trump doesn't. And there's a certain desire for a little bit of restraint among the quote unquote polite classes. That's the reason they're so mad at Trump in the first place. And there are things they don't want to do as badly now because Trump has sort of poisoned those things. But all the harm mitigation stuff aside, the main reason I want to see Biden win is because I really want to see what happens when he doesn't close the camps,
Right. That's what I'm saying. He's not going to.
or when he keeps or when he keeps sending feds to crack down on protesters.
Mhm. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to start leaving the streets. as soon as he would be elected,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to see that things are not changing, and they say these things like, let's go back to normal. It's so disgusting. You know it's so frustrating, even as someone white, just to watch these white people, like, just so privileged and so ridiculous, and just outright racist for saying that they want to go back to things, to how things were. It's so selfish.
And I was kind of hit with that too today. I was hit with well, you're erasing the disabled people who have died because of Trump. Because I said that I didn't think that you could really stop fascism by voting for Biden. And it's like, my wife is one of those people who's going to die regardless of whoever wins the presidency, very likely.
I'm
And
not sure what that means. Disabled people have died
so
because
she
of Trump.
personally blames Trump for the COVID death toll.
Oh, yes,
Which
those
is,
people. They call it the Trump
well,
disease.
she wasn't
Literally.
calling, she doesn't go that far. I mean, and she was one of she's one of somebody who's very solid on fascism and what's happening, but then it's all of a sudden the she's convinced. I understand, but she's convinced that if we had had a different president, that somehow things would have been different.
A lot of people feel that way, and it's really repugnant and sad.
I would say tragic,
Yeah.
because the one thing that this has shown me, the congressional side of things, the CARES Act, the HEROES Act, and what's happened with the HEROES Act, what it's shown me is that we don't have a government that is capable of acting to help people. They're not willing to make more than the smallest token efforts to help people. I'm not bashing the $600 a week unemployment increase. That was great while it lasted.
Thank you,
I'm
bro.
glad they sent the first round of $1,200 checks. We were able to pay our rent without having to worry about it one month because of the $1,200 check. That was good. But those things aside, the CARES Act was really, really bad.
Mhm.
After all the effort that was done to bail out the airlines are still laying people off,
Yep. And
despite the fact that supposedly it's okay to fly now.
today, there was an article. I quoted the title of it from the Hill. It says, Dems back away from vows to quit for quick reversal of Trump's tax cuts. Essentially, they vowed that they would,
Yep,
support, taking away those tax cuts, and
of course.
today they decided not to.
Yeah, because that I always knew that was coming. Who's our nominee? Our nominee is the guy who made the deal with Mitch McConnell and then persuaded Obama to go along with it to keep the Bush tax cuts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We are almost at 60 minutes, so I'm pretty sure this stream is gonna drop. I told you we would talk for like hours. Um, so thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry we didn't get to a lot of news, you guys, because we just talk a lot, but um smash the like button, the share button, and please, please, please subscribe to this new channel. I also have over 300 of my shows on this YouTube channel. So definitely check some of those older ones out. But yes, please subscribe so I can get the numbers up on here and start doing more streams over here. So thank you guys so much again for watching. And thank you again, Chris, for joining.
It's my pleasure. Anytime you need somebody last minute, I will if I can.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, I have Lisa Savage from Maine.
Yes.
Actually, we're going to air it at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And that'll be on Uphill Media. So that, and then next week I have Farron Cousins, who is he's the host of Ring of Fire. He's awesome. So that's next week for him. And Pat will be back with me next week for this week's news. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thank you, Chris, for joining.
My pleasure.
Take care, everyone.
Have a great night, guys.